The stock Nvidia reports earnings this Wednesday after hours and is going to be the biggest earnings report we're going to be anticipating for the whole year of 2025.
Fucking shit.
This is going to determine whether or not the stock market continues to plummet to the downside or reverses back to the upside. And yes, $70 is not out of the question, and Forbes even believes it too, that $70 price point for Nvidia is potentially possible. But there's a lot of factors that are going into this, so let's just jump right into the video and figure this out. Wall Street expects Nvidia to report fourth quarter adjusted earnings of 85 cents per share on revenue of $38.08 billion, and the company's net income is expected to reach $19.58 billion. The tech giant is now worth over $3 trillion, and throughout the year, it's taken that top spot as the most valuable US company at times, with that market cap of over $3 trillion, with the stock rising a total of 478%. And you can see right here, this clickbait title from Forbes came out showing that Nvidia stock to $70. And taking a look at the article, there's a lot of downside negativity towards it, and I can totally understand where they're coming from. Because if you take a look at Nvidia stock, it has been sluggish as of recently. The stock itself hasn't been moving like it has for the past year to 2 years. And one of the biggest factors into this is the recent breakthrough in AI out of China that suggested that billions of dollars of Nvidia GPUs just aren't needed to train and use cutting AI technology. Nvidia is currently trading at the same price as it was last October, and investors are really worried about this upcoming earnings and whether or not the stock continue to move higher or is going to fall even lower. And taking a look at the stock chart, you can see basically from the start of 2024, we had our massive rally from $48 post-adjusted all the way up to $153 this past December before finally pulling back and getting a massive pullback to $115 per share. But the stock basically since October, like we mentioned, hasn't done a whole lot. It's been trading inside this band, and if we draw this out right here, with our highs up to this 150 price point and our lows down here, which is a nice support area around this 110 to 115, you can see the stock has been just trading inside of this band and hasn't been moving much past it for the past several months, and that's not really normal for a stock after it's performed so well and is still reporting massive beats on earnings per share, revenue, and quarterly sales. So what does that mean for this quarter? Well, it's pretty important, because if we take a look at the S&P 500 right now, Nvidia is number 2 on the list and makes up for 6.29% of the whole entire S&P 500. And with that being said, the way that the stock moves will heavily impact the S&P 500, and not only that, but the whole entire market. This stock right now is going to really determine what's going to happen over the next few weeks, and obviously, like you guys have seen, the past few days in the stock market have been very rough. The S&P 500 has been down, the Dow and the Nasdaq have all fallen quite a bit, and right now the stock is pulling back quite a bit off of this 140 area. And with that being said, we need to check out a few things on the stock chart itself. One, we're going to take a closer look here and see where we have to trade inside of. And if we take this chart and narrow it down to the past 20 days, so each one of these days right here, we'll pull it back. You could see that it bounced off this 111 area and then bounced off a 140. So 111 to 110, let's call it, is our support. 140 is our resistance and got rejected to the downside. If we pull out a little bit more, you can see that the stock has been trading off of this 140 area as either support or resistance in the past. Bounced off as resistance, held as support, and then fell to the downside. Bounced, broke through resistance, and then broke down to the downside. Bounced off and got rejected off this 140 multiple times, fell to the downside. So 140 is definitely an area where I wanted to be at to see if it can hold above or fall back down below. But the fact that this is trading down by 128 area heading into earnings means that there is a lot more downside than there is upside. We're not even close to this 140, so we got to watch our next area to see if we can try and hold down to this 110 to 120 area. And 120 is our next area that I really want to watch for to see if we can try and hold. If we can't hold 120, we're falling back down to 110 area. And if we pull back even further, if earnings is underperforming what we expected to actually happen, and it doesn't beat earnings per share, doesn't beat revenue, and falls short of guidance, that is going to massively impact the stock and bring it potentially even below 110 down to this $100 area. And the last time that we saw that was back in September. And that's going to cause a massive sell-off and is going to blow millions and trillions of dollars in the US market as a whole, because it's going to tank the S&P, it's going to tank the NASDAQ, and it's going to tank the overall market for the most part. So with that being said, a lot of money is going to be moved around. But on the flip side, for you bulls out there, and if you're in it for the long term, you have nothing to worry about. Nvidia for the long term, still a great stock in my opinion, but I think that we have some short-term turbulence that could happen that could cause it to fall. But on the flip side, if you are bullish on this, there's a lot of upside for you as well. We are at 128 of a price point. We have that run up to 140. If we break through 140 into after hours off of earnings and we get a massive rally off of 140 and we break through, you'll see this thing off of 140 hitting all-time highs. If we can break through, have a good earnings, break through 140, and potentially test that 150 zone, that 150 area is the final boss that we have to basically go against. And if we can break through 150, you have this thing, mark my words, going to all-time highs above 153. But the problem is breaking through that 140 area, and then on top of that, breaking through that 150 area. And if we can break through both of those areas, then I believe that we're going to break through the 153 easily, no problem. It's going to be a $160 stock. But this is only going to be off of earnings and off of that strong momentum and strong push. But I do believe there are a lot of bears heading into this earnings. And with that being said, it's going to really, really be hard. We're going to have a beautiful, perfect quarter, and even better than perfect, to actually outperform what analysts are expecting, what we're expecting for the actually to happen with the stock itself. And on top of all that, we have to be able to one up all the bears out there and basically push this thing higher. So there's a lot of negative factors and deprecating things out there pushing this stock down further, and it's kind of scaring a lot of investors. But this is all in the short term. If you're in the long term, don't worry about it. So let's go over it real quick. If you're a short-term trader or investor heading into earnings, what type are you going to play here? Well, in the short term, we're going to follow the simple rule of showing 140 is that resistance, is that hard resistance. You can also call it 130 to 132. We've been struggling in this area, but I think that for the most part, in the short term, you got to be able to break above 140 for any type of strong momentum. We're going to see some momentum tomorrow. I believe there will be some buyers throughout the day, and I'm looking to trade off of Nvidia throughout the day tomorrow. And when you trade off of Nvidia, make those quick in and out trades with it. In the short term, you got to watch for 140. If it can't hold above 140, it's going to fall back below. Right now we're at 128, so let's see what happens tomorrow, but I think that 140 is definitely an area we got to be able to break above to get any type of momentum going forward. And for you long-term investors looking to make some potential additions to your portfolio or start a new position, you're getting it at a pretty good price point, but be careful because this can definitely fall a lot lower. Right now we're at that 126 to 128 zone. If we fall below 120, watch this thing back into the 110s, below 110, you're potentially hitting $100 or less. You're going to see a massive sell-off with a lot of orders that are already placed in there to the downside and a lot of big sellers. So be mindful moving forward with Nvidia in the short term. But if you're a long-term investor, this is perfect. You sit on the sidelines and you either buy more or you don't do anything at all. But just do your own research and due diligence before jumping in or out of this position. Don't make any rational decisions because this is going to be the most volatile move that Nvidia could have potentially ever in the next 24 to 48 hours. So let's keep that in mind when moving forward and trading or investing into this stock. Guys, let me know down in the comments down below what you think about the stock Nvidia. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.